Talk Real Estate with Sharon McNamara, sponsored by Boston Connect Real Estate Services.
Hi, I'm your host, Sharon McNamara, and you are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. Let me share a little bit about my background before we get started. I am the broker owner of Boston Connect Real Estate, a boutique firm that is home to over 30 real estate sales and marketing agents who service home buyers and home sellers throughout Boston, the South Shore, the South Coast, and Cape Cod. Our firm takes pride in assisting our clients in the next chapter of their lives by taking a holistic approach to their real estate endeavors. We believe that every move should be a moving experience. Every week, my co-host Melissa Wallace and I will provide you with my team's unique marketing approach to selling homes and share with you our expertise in navigating the home buying process. We value the experience of our agents at Boston Connect Real Estate so much that not only will you hear my perspective on real estate topics, occasionally you will hear the expert thoughts and opinions of our experienced agents at Boston Connect Real Estate. Be a part of our roundtable. If you have any questions during the show, please call 781-837-4900. We'd love to talk real estate. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and wherever you like to listen to podcasts at Talk Real Estate Roundtable. If you would like a one-on-one consultation with me and my team to discuss your real estate needs, you can connect with me at bostonconnect.com or 781-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate.
And hello to all our South Shore neighbors. You are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. My name is Melissa Wallace, and I am joined in studio by the broker owner of Boston Connect Real Estate, Sharon McNamara. She's waving from the other side of the room. And today we have a special guest for the third time in a row, but this time she has graced us with her presence here. I was very surprised when she called me and said, "Wait, are we still doing this?" Because I was coming in on two wheels. But we have Jazmine Glasgow from Maritime Mortgage.
Hello.
Hello.
Wow, the audio is way different in studio.
Yeah,
this is nice.
Yeah, well, I hope you like it. So we are continuing on with our discussion. We've been talking about, this will be our third show. Probably not our final, because we want you to be on like every single time.
The forever series.
But just in case somebody has not caught our first two shows with you, why don't you reintroduce yourselves to all of our listeners?
Sure. I am Jazmine Glasgow. Oh, she's back.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Okay, I'm Jazmine Glasgow. I'm the broker co-owner of Maritime Mortgage Corp. We are a small mortgage broker company with a big hit in the South Shore of Massachusetts, and we service New England and a little bit of Florida, and I'm really excited to be here again. Get the compliance out of the way, NMLS 2708 and MLO 16226.
You do. You sound a little bit like David Allen Boucher this morning. Yeah,
I'm kind of loving it.
Yeah.
Yes, the bedtime magic.
Not enough coffee, I guess.
Yeah. But do we have Tim in studio this morning?
Yes, good morning. 38 degrees outside for the joggers. Make sure you put on an extra coat. Thank you.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people walking this morning.
Yeah, it doesn't even... Tim, like, you are so good at your voices.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Well, that's wonderful, Sharon. I'm so glad you have the show at 8 o'clock in the morning. Anyway. Yeah.
That's our...
We love Tim.
Yeah, we do love Tim. So, Jazmine, you're close to that, to our Clubhouse friends, so you can sort of keep an eye on that as well. I don't know where your phone is, but it might come back a little bit. So,
yeah, if I put it on, it will.
Yeah, okay, because I saw you up there. So, okay, so we take that off. So anybody who is listening on Clubhouse, if you have any questions or comments about our topic today, again, you guys don't understand how lucky I am on Clubhouse because I get to be with Jazmine all the time. Just want to say that room lifted me up like no other this morning. And they will tell you that I hopped in the shower at 7:33. Mark's screaming at me, "Melissa's going to kill you." I was able to shower, dry my hair, put on some makeup, and here I am in studio. So, that room, Jazmine. I mean, the people in Clubhouse there, like, they have become our friends, and they are wonderful. And for all our listeners out in WATD, the nice thing about this Clubhouse that I always talk about is that I and Jazmine get to interact with some of the most top elite agents throughout the country.
Oh, yeah. Always be learning.
Yeah, always be learning. And we're learning from each other. And you know what? If you want to go to Salt Lake City, I got a girl for that. You know how we always say, I got a guy for that. I got a guy for that. I need a roof. I got a guy for that. Well, I got a girl for that. I got a guy for that. Wherever you want to go in the country, I'm sure between Jazmine and myself, we can find you one of the top agents in that area. So I can see some of my friends, of course. Megan is probably there from Long Island, and Rue is from Orlando, and we have people from all over. So I definitely love to let you know about them, because if you're thinking about relocating, we're seeing a ton of reloads, Jazmine.
Oh, yeah. Into Massachusetts as well.
Yeah,
we're getting
right?
a ton. A lot of people moving to Texas from Massachusetts, and from everywhere else to Massachusetts we're finding.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of that. Actually, we have our, you're very familiar with Stonebridge Homes, and that's the two developments that Mary and I have. And we are seeing, we have our weekly talk on Wednesdays, and I was talking to Muhammad and the crew this week, and I love talking to him. He's so smart.
He's so smart.
He is so smart. Like, he's like up there with like Lawrence Yun with me right now.
Oh my gosh. Do you have a crush on him?
I sort of have a little, well, it's like a data crush. Like, it's a weird, right?
Yeah, mental crush.
Yeah, like a mental, like he's
I
just,
love your brain.
I feel like you would know what that's like.
I have a lot of financial mental crushes.
I love your brain. So hopefully he never listens to this, because like I'm turning red even thinking about it.
I'm going to print the transcript and send it to him.
Yeah. And to Mark, your husband.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but I mean, Mark has a great brain, but we're talking about
Mark's brain.
Yeah, we love Mark's brain. Mark's brain is great. But with Muhammad, we were talking, and I said to him, one of the things I'm seeing, and one of the struggles that we're having with new construction is, first of all, there's no inventory, so we're seeing a lot of people coming in for that. But with the reloads, they want instant gratification, and I mean, they're coming in and they need to be in a house in 30 days, 60 days.
Sure. And especially because some of the other builders, like nationally, won't start selling until the houses are kind of all framed.
Yeah.
And so they're used to quicker turnaround. Like, I've got a good friend who lends in Virginia, and he's like, oh, yeah, our construction closes in 21 days because you pick 4 things. Like, you're picking paint and maybe some railings.
And then they all look the same.
Exactly. Super cookie cutter.
And we were trying to do that, and we were like, okay, this one will be your model, and because we had 4 of them up, this one will be your model. Oh, nope, I want to buy that one. Oh, this one will be your model. Like, so we're trying to keep up with, supply and demand. It's a great.
Maybe you won't have a model.
Yeah, I know.
When they're selling so fast.
People want personalization. It's the beauty of new construction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I know. Ask Mary how much she likes it.
She lives, breathes new construction now.
Poor Mary, because I have to give Mary some kudos. And, you don't hear her on the show a lot anymore because she's on the road more for our team. And when she started with me, when she was 21 years old, I had a new construction development, not with Stonebridge, but with another builder. And we had, I think, 15 colonials, 4-bedroom colonials at that time. So that's where Mary, like baptism by fire, Mary, was thrown right into new construction. And I remember her then just so oh my gosh, I love this, I love this, I love this. You could have asked her last week how much she liked new construction. Might have been a different story. So, but to our listeners, if you have any questions as well, 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. And you can ask Tim those questions. You can text him those questions. We've had a lot of people doing that, texting in, so feel free to do that. And today we're going to do part 3, right?
Yeah, and we're also live on Facebook. I don't know if you said that, but so be sure to follow Boston Connect Real Estate. I know, Jazmine, you have shared it as well, and if you're a part of any of the Connect pages here on the South Shore, we are live on there.
Yeah, Maritime should share it as well. I forget I own a business sometimes.
Yes, yes, you are the co-owner of Maritime Mortgage. But yeah, and you can comment on there too, so if you're a little shy and you don't want to call or text into the studio. But just continuing on with sort of our discussion from the last 2 shows, something that I did want to touch upon was some of the don'ts while in the mortgage process, and some of the things that you should not be doing. Me personally, I was like, I don't in my head I was like, I can't spend a dime. I don't want to go to the store. I need everything for my house, but I'm not going to go to Jordan's and be like, yes, I'll open up your credit card. Yes, I'll finance all these things that I need. I was like, nope. Nope.
Yeah. You protect your social security number during the transaction. That's like the best rule of thumb. Do not give your social out to anybody.
Yeah.
And our team, we find the double verification is really important. So if someone's requesting your social security, call us. Number one rule. And we've also found that stops fraud from happening.
Yeah.
And now most people do their home shopping, or their rate shopping, before they go through the process. Because really, the idea is you talk to different realtors, you talk to different lenders and mortgage brokers or any, banks, and you figure out who's your team and you work with that team until the end.
Yeah.
And so you've done all that shopping already. Now is the time when you have a house under agreement and you're in the process to protect your social security number. You're not applying, that 10% coupon looks so great, but you're not applying for anything in store. You're keeping everything locked down because one of my co-hosts on the Mortgage Roundtable is a clubhouse room we do. He says DTI kills dreams. That's the debt to income. And it is such a problem where we are almost done. We're all set.
Yeah.
And you got a shiny new car because you got the house.
Yeah.
And now we've got to count that payment in. And when you've got a new credit card, not only are we going to have to deal with the inquiry, we've got another thing, you're going to have to explain it. We're going to need a statement for that. We're going to need to see what that minimum balance is. And sometimes those statements don't report, and we can have a huge delay for the purchase, even if the numbers work. But other times you might be paying off debt to make the purchase work, and now you've added more debt that has to be paid off. And so you're kind of doing the same thing as if you were to buy it cash.
I remember asking you this actually at your event last year, and just because life happens, we talked about that, with putting things on your credit card and stuff. And I had asked you, what happens if somebody's in the loan process and they do have to get a new car? Like, what does that look like when, their debt becomes higher because they
take the tea and ask their friends for a ride. They get an Uber.
Honestly, honestly, yep. I tell people now is the time for, a temporary car rental. I'll put them to Turo, Enterprise.
Yeah.
It's usually we're not usually, unless it's new construction, we're not under contract for more than 30 days nowadays. Our average closing right now is 16 days.
Yeah.
And so you can usually hold off for a couple weeks. But then I have people with kids who have, there's 3-4 car seats going in that car. It needs to be a minivan, right? So it's a little bit more difficult.
Yeah.
If they already have a car payment reporting, and we're going to try to keep in line with that car payment. If not, we're involved in that conversation the whole time, that whole shopping. They're sending me purchase and sale agreements for the cars, and we're seeing the payment terms, the UCC financing statements, and we're going to calculate it before they pull the trigger.
Yeah.
So don't do anything first. Have the conversation first, and then do something.
I just would love to see the face of the car salesman being like, hold on, I need to send all of this documentation to my loan officer, and then be like, I'll get you a better rate.
I've shown up to dealerships for clients because they were, really, really tight, and they're like, they won't show it to me. I'm like, is this the one? There's no other car, and they're like, this is the one. And I've gone to the dealerships. It's 4 or 5 times, and been like, okay, let's have a look, and then also help them understand what they're looking at because they don't explain them great.
Yeah.
It's interesting. One of the things that you said is, about those 10%, the coupons, or if you sign up now, like we talked about it last week, right? Home goods, like things not to do when you're trying to improve your credit score. And it's interesting because if you went into Home Goods and let's even just say you spent $400 and you open up the credit card and you're going to save $40, but you potentially just changed that DTI, right? Yep. And now you can't get a $400,000 house because you saved $40.
Yeah.
Right? Like, think about it.
And honestly, like, you could get me if you told me in the door, but if you're telling me when I'm checking out and I'm only have 4 things and it comes to $20 or whatever, I'm gonna say no. But had I known, I would have been like, oh yeah, I'm going out there and I'm gonna get a bunch of stuff.
I should probably be ashamed of this, but I was one of the top people when I worked at Banana Republic for getting people to sign up for credit cards.
I worked at TJ Maxx when I was in high school and a little bit in college. I was pushing those credit cards.
I was a child.
I had no idea.
I was a child going,
I was 28% interest.
What's a little credit?
Sounds great.
Did you get bonuses?
Oh yeah,
that's why,
huge
right?
incentives, and it's so crazy. Like they're having these 17, 18-year-olds pushing credit, and like we're peddling credit. I'm like, look at this, I got 200 applications this month.
Look at these applications.
Exactly, and I'm like, you are just buying data.
And then I wasn't even. I couldn't even get one.
Exactly. It's like I'm not old enough for a credit card.
I'm not even old enough for this thing.
So store cards are a big no during the process.
Absolutely. So I know, like, we sort of jumped over like the first thing. Did you want to recap a little bit about some of the things that you said the past couple weeks, like what not to do, just in case some of our listeners didn't hear it? I mean, we have like a short thing here of what not to do if you're going for, if you're trying to improve your credit, right? So one of them is don't get that 10% credit card.
Yep. And you're going to limit your applications. Only apply for credit when you actually need credit. Some people will kind of just be trickling in. And
wouldn't that be advice for all time?
Yeah. It's kind of a life advice thing.
This is
a general life advice thing. But don't overextend yourself, and try to keep your shopping into close windows. That's one thing we didn't mention last week.
Oh, okay.
And really, just being very cognizant of your score. Don't put it into a drawer, into a box, and then forget about it. It needs to be something that you're monitoring, constantly. Annualcreditreport.com. You can get a free copy of each of your credit bureaus once a week now. It used to be once a year. Now it's once a week.
That's what I meant to do after the show on Tuesday when you mentioned that, or last Saturday. I wanted to look at it.
Reminder for everybody now. Annualcreditreport.com, and it's free. And it might not give you the score, but it's going to give you all the data on it. And I'm going to go pull it too to see if the score is populating. But it will tell you what's showing up on your credit, and that's a big way to get ahead of things before you go into the process of buying anything or applying for anything. Don't close older accounts. If you're not using something, you're getting a notice that it's going to be stale, and it's different when you get a really big, annual fees. You can talk to them about changing that. But you're going to want to keep those older cards open because it's going to help your average age of history, and it's also going to help your revolving balance. So everything's percentages. You have $30,000 in available credit. You only have $1,000 in used credit. That's going to really help you versus if you close that $25,000 card, now you're $1,000 over $5,000.
Yeah.
What about when people are like shopping the rate? You know what I mean? When people and I find myself doing it when people come to me and they say, oh, well, I'm already pre-approved with XYZ. And I always say, you know what? If I were you, I would just take this opportunity to call Jazmine and review things with her. You know what I mean? So I'm sure that it's happening on the opposite. You know what I mean? If I give somebody Jazmine, they're probably wherever, if they end up somewhere else, I don't know, or somebody advice from family, oh, you should try this. What are the repercussions from getting multiple pulls on that?
Well, if we're all pulling it correctly and we're all pulling it as a mortgage pull, it should be going into a shopping window. So essentially you have, and the advice we're supposed to give is 2 weeks. The credit bureaus say 45 to 60 days. I've seen it actually ding people if they're well within a week of multiple pulls, but it depends on the backside. Are they pulling as a mortgage report? Are they pulling as a general inquiry? Exactly, because those go into different buckets and those will have different inquiry inputs.
Can I ask you a question off topic? Are you Italian in any way?
I have some Italian.
Yeah, I can tell.
Oh, the hand thing? Yes. Oh, there's a lot of hand gestures. There's a lot of. I usually pace and walk too when I'm talking.
So. It's a lot of this, and all I can hear is like
Oh, sorry. I'm in a vest. I should take the vest off for all the movement. I'm not running, guys.
I'm thinking of Tim on the other end. I remember, I used to have bracelets. I'd have the bracelets, but this is all I can hear from Jazmine.
I'm a very active talker. Is this quieter? Let's get a little hand movement.
Yeah, you looked at me like, why are you even asking me this question?
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's funny. So I'm sorry that I digress. Okay. But Tim, are you happy? Tim's happy now because now he doesn't hear the scratching.
A little less.
Probably texting you.
Yeah.
I do have a comment from Ginny Wandell, who is a full-time realtor here at Boston Connect Real Estate. She said, "Good morning. I'm pointing my clients to you. Thanks for a great topic. Spring forward. Happy house hunting."
Oh, nice.
I think she has a referral for you. And we just referred you to somebody, one of our agents, Faith Birmingham, who is also a full-time realtor here at Boston Connect Real Estate. Hopefully your team, or somebody who could help one of her clients.
Yeah, we connected, and we're getting a lot of inquiries on just different types of loans. And one big thing, if we can get around to it today, between the do's and the don'ts, is, and besides the shopping around, is asking about different types of verifications. Because, we've been doing so many what we call DSCR, debt service coverage ratio loans, bank statement loans. Now, we won't do what's called stated income, which is you just tell me what you make. We don't do that because it's really important to make sure that you can afford what you're getting into. We believe that the crash happened because people were irresponsible for it.
I literally was just going to say, doesn't that bring you back to I don't know where you guys were, maybe just in grammar school, but back to 2004.
I wasn't in grammar school, but thank you.
In 2004, I was 13.
Yeah, okay, so middle school. So, that's what happened. You know what I mean? People were no doc loans and no verification and everything like that. But, the great thing about our show, Jazmine, is you know what? No one can fire me, so we can talk about anything that we want. And let's talk about some of that. I do think it's important when I tell people, when they come to me with the big box, and again, I'm not saying anything different. It's just like real estate offices, right? They're all a little bit different. There's a big box, there's a boutique, but there definitely, I feel, are differences with a big box, bank and, someone who it just feels like more relationship.
Oh yeah,
right?
everything for us is relationships. When we're training people, you'll know I'm a terrible salesperson. I'm awful. I really am. But I care about people. And, we train our loan officers and everyone on our team to love on our clients. And it's a big difference between being a number and being someone we're focused on. And, it's about supporting small also. And in my opinion, I feel like that's very, very important because if you don't have the small, you're forced with the big and then they can do whatever they want. We're also oftentimes much, much, much more affordable because we don't charge any of our own fees. But that's the self-promotion aside. You got to look kind of all around, but rate isn't everything. You have the closing costs and all the fees that come along with it, but also the ability to get it done. When we've got a client and I say, do your loan shopping now. Build your team and stick with your team. Do all your rate shopping now because we're all going to be flowing in the same direction. If I'm cheaper now, I'm probably going to be cheaper in 6 months. But if they're cheaper then, they're probably going to be cheaper in 6 months. And if that's your number one priority, I completely understand. But also, are you calling them on Saturday? Are you calling them on Sunday?
And how much cheaper can they really be at the end of the day? You're you're all loaning money, right? Sometimes, you go into different banks and everything anyways, right? Sort of?
I just beat someone by 1.5%.
Wow.
Yeah. So, it can definitely range wildly.
Yeah.
And it's not... it's about your priorities too. What are you focused on? Do you need someone to hold your hand and educate you? Is this your 15th purchase and you've done everything online with all these big companies and you just don't care? There are different priorities to different people, and that's okay. We can't be one size fits all for everybody, but this is why we have so many lenders. We're a broker, so we're not lending our own money, we're lending across so many different programs. Each of my lenders has a dozen or more programs, and so we have the ability to kind of fit people into where they need to be.
That's what I like. I always bring up this analogy about ice cream, right? I don't know why, but it's I feel like when you go to a certain banks or online banks, it's okay, here are your choices. You have chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry. But I feel like with you, you're sort of asking me the questions.
We have soft serve and we got yogurts.
What suits you best?
Sorbet.
I'm going to say sorbet. Give me a nice lemon sorbet. But you're able to do that where when I'm looking at a certain, and again, I just think about this with the bigger boxes. I feel like they're so big clumsy elephants. They can't even get out of their way. But they don't have to. They only have to give you chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry.
And even some loan officers, I have a great referral source. He just doesn't do anything under $750,000. He just doesn't care for anything under a jumbo loan. It's not legal, but he sends them out. He will not do any credit score under 740.
Really?
He wants grade A paper is what he calls it, and he won't work with it. And I'm America back in 1700s. Give me all of them.
You'll take the referrals.
But because it's not about how people look on paper. These are still people.
Yeah.
And housing is such it's such a scarcity for some people, and you guys know some of my background. Like, it's very important to me that people have a safe and secure place to live, especially families. And I've had more applications in the last year of multiple families moving in together to be able to afford housing, and they didn't know that they could.
Well, Melissa, she didn't know that she could, and I mean, I remember her coming out of her office crying one day, like, Jazmine thinks I can do this, and I was like, you can do anything you have your mindset to. You can do this. But it's interesting what you said about, like, knowing your background, knowing Melissa's background, you guys knowing my background and Mary's background. I mean, if you think about, I could literally cry, and I want to blame Cindy from Clubhouse for starting that for me today, getting me all emotional. It is interesting from where we came from, how seriously we take this. And we don't take any of it for granted.
No, not a conversation, not an opportunity, not the trust that people put. Because at the end of the day, we all need somewhere to live, and at the end of the day, some of those people are going home to cars. I've had a lot of conversations with people, especially recently, who are trying to stay warm. And that for me is... That for me is a trigger, setting them up. I had one client who I referred to someone else because it's like they have this program in Rhode Island. I do not lend on it, and I'm a big advocate that you got to have some skin in the game. But for some people, there's just no option. Their landlord's taking advantage of them, and they're moving their rent up from $2,100 to $3,600 or $700, and I don't even know if it's legal.
Well, I think you can. I think that that's what they're trying to do in the cities. You know what I mean? Is sort of put like rent control on things so the landlords can't do that.
At least a limit. And they've been longtime tenants, paid on, and I was like, well, what's the history there and whatnot. I checked on the first every single month on the bank statements provided. And we've been working together for some time. They've been looking, and she's got small kids, and she's a single mom, and they're jacking up the rent. I'm like, that's a mortgage payment. That's a mortgage payment greater than what you're pre-approved for, which tells me you can't afford that. And so, she had to choose between paying rent or heating her apartment. And that's a scary conversation to be having, and people are having it. So when we're talking about things like credit and like making sure that you're doing the things to get there, I think we also have to touch on like debt. People are relying more on credit. I mean, we're into the trillions now with credit card debt.
And it's not their fault sometimes. Like, look at the story you're just telling. It's like, all right, I need to feed my children. You know what I mean? We're humans. It isn't like we can go out like, okay, little baby birds, like you stay in the nest today, and mommy's going to go out looking for worms. Like, worms are pretty free.
Full-time job and a part-time job.
Yeah, and that literally breaks my heart. I want to let all of our listeners know you are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. I am Sharon McNamara, the broker owner of Boston Connect Real Estate, and I am one of the partners of the McNamara Horton group. Mary Horton is out and about today doing some open houses and all that. We are the sponsors of this wonderful show, Talk Real Estate Roundtable. Of course, I'm in-house today with my sidekick, Melissa Wallace. She is our everything here at Boston Connect Real Estate, and I just want to say I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too.
And of course, we're with Jazmine, she's a friend, and she, to me, feels like one of my baby cubs as well, because all these babies have come to me for a reason in my life.
You make me feel young, and I love it.
Yeah, well, I do. I feel like I have you all underneath, my wing. And so Jazmine Glasgow, of course, from Maritime Mortgage, is with us today. And we're talking, we just went over the credit score thing. We're talking about mortgages. If you have any questions for us, please call in 781-837-4900. If you're feeling a little shy this morning, you can also text, because Tim is in studio and he can get your message to us, 781-837-4900. Melissa will also tell you we're on Facebook Live. You can go to Boston Connect Real Estate. Make sure you like our page there. Yeah.
My profile is awful.
I'll move over. Make it look better this way. Yeah.
Oh, man.
So, so we are there. And I'm also on Clubhouse with a lot of our friends from around the nation. So if you are looking to relocate anywhere, I promise you I can find you one of the top agents in that state. And one thing that I forgot to do this morning, too, is I want to give a shout out to my dad, Nanu. Hello, Nanu. I love you. Hello. And to all of his friends over at Wingate in Silver Lake, at Wingate Silver Lake in Kingston. So good morning, Dad. I love you.
And Rue from Clubhouse had a comment.
Okay.
She said, when my husband was in college and his friends him and his friends had a contest to see how many credit cards they could get. He had 25.
What?
Currently, he still has problems with money. Imagine that. Rue, we love you.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's a thing. And a lot of people believe that if they open up all the credit cards within a window, then it won't impact their credit. But there's so many, we talked about the proportions of credit, and, your on-time payments are going to be 35%, but the other 65% of your credit is your length of history. It is your credit utilization, those balance. It's new credit. And so that 10% of new credit is going to be absolutely tanked on that. And people don't realize that, in a range between, 350 and 850, you could swing at 50 points and just increase, So it can be a big swing, and I get it. Don't ever do it for a contest. I mean, I don't know the prize though either.
Yeah, what was the prize?
That prize is
the prize is you get forever debt. Debt you can't pay off, and a wife who's going to call you out live on air.
A story for life.
Yes, and again, that was Rue, and she is calling from Orlando, and she is just as wonderful in person. By the way, she is quite the leader and just a wonderful, wonderful soul. So that's Rue in Orlando. So if anyone's thinking about going to her neck of the woods, let me know.
In relocation, I mean, circling back to that, where are you finding people are coming from?
They are literally coming from everywhere, and I had this conversation this week with our developer, and it's interesting because I'm seeing two different types. One is like I had my open house at Cushing Trails last weekend. I had a older couple coming down from Vermont because they want to live closer to their son and daughter. Their son literally lives in between me and Mary, so like within a half mile of where.
Yeah, that's a half mile.
Either of you selling.
From each way, he's like in between a half mile. So, so he is. I just feel like our microphones are getting so close here. That's what we're hearing a little bit. Yeah.
I'm looking that way.
Yep, that's good. So
stand in that corner.
I know, yeah. It's because yours picks up that way and ours picks up this way. So, yep, there you go. So, so we're seeing that, like people who, they want to sell wherever they are because they want to get closer to their kids. But also, if you think about Boston in general, and that's one of the things I love about the name of our company is Boston Connect Real Estate. We're connecting Boston to the South Shore, the South Coast, Cape Islands, Metro West, all of those areas, because Boston is the hub for education, for finance, and for medical.
And tech now, too.
And tech, yes. Yeah. So we're seeing in biotech, right?
Yeah.
So we're seeing a lot of that. And we tend to see that at the beginning of the year. We tell all of our clients, especially like our higher end clients who are selling, do it at the beginning of the year because that's when we're seeing all this reload movement going on. So
that's
interesting.
What we're seeing. I wouldn't think that it would be seasonal.
Yeah. Well, because they want to get on the books at the beginning of the year.
Right.
And then they generally will do it in between school, like when kids are on vacation, so they can move everybody and get everybody there. So
yeah, we do a lot of VA loans, and we've been seeing a lot of Army transfers. A lot of Army transfers and usually we can't really, determine which branch it is. And recently it's been pretty much 100% Army.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's something that you don't hear every day.
I don't know why. I haven't looked into it. It's just been the last maybe 3 or 4 months. A lot of VA reloads from in the Army coming here, Plymouth specifically.
My daughter Mackenzie recently was looking at some things, but I won't talk about it right now. So okay, I'm sorry.
She was looking at something.
Because Mackenzie's so cute though. Because I know Jazmine, like she, you've given her some stuff, and she's like, "Mom, I don't know how to answer these questions." And I was like, "Well, what's the difficult?"
Jazmine.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was like, "Well, chances are I'm not going to know how to answer them either." But she really did have a good point, so I'll bring it out right here on air. Mm-hmm. She's like, one question is, are you thinking? And you can't go on to the next one or something. She said she's filling things in or something, and she said one of the questions was, are you have you found a property yet? And the answer was no. But then like the next question was, what is the address of that property or something like that?
Oh, weird. That might be a tech thing. I demo through my own application constantly. I will.
It was good to hear from somebody who doesn't know anything about your process.
Right. No, I'll definitely check on the tech on that, because it should just it should not ask that. It should only if you're under contract. You say yes, and then it's going to ask for a property.
So she said no, but then she's like, but now it's asking me for the address. I said, just make one up.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what
Jazmine.
I tell people, put in filler. Just make sure it like, don't put in a real company or a real. I've got like 123 Teletubby Lane. I was like, if I didn't read it, I would have thought that was real. I was like, just put in letters.
Honestly, there's some strange streets out there.
But we got a new tech, and that's a fun thing too. It's like the whole industry is changing, and we're trying to get all. We're so. I wouldn't call us analog. Like we've always had good tech, but we're so personal. Like we still take 50% of our applications in person or over the phone.
Yeah.
And if not more.
Yeah.
Because people like to do it.
Yeah. Like I'm just questions. More. Like I just want it to be more personable for me. That's just my preference. But
mine too. I like to sit down and and figure out what people. I think people also are more open in person.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, all right, I gotta lay it clear for you. Like, I'm really nervous about this, and if people are open and honest, we can combat those fears, because we're going to combat them one way or the other. It's either going to be at the beginning or while you're having an anxiety attack at 3 a.m. And
when I'm calling Jazmine because I'm crying. Which happened.
I'm going to tell you, we need to have maritime therapy.
Yeah,
like it needs to be another branch.
We can open up a joint branch, okay? So we'll hire the same therapist in between. So there's a few of our agents actually who do have degrees in psychology, so they can run up that department. Let's shift gears a little bit, because I feel like we've had you on 3 times in a row, you know what I mean? So and it's all really good stuff, but I think what's so important about this is, even at the end of every one of our shows, Melissa and I have looked at each other and said, we haven't even really finished that thought, right? So there's a lot that goes on with the mortgage process, which is why I love, for me, I'm going to tell you, I'm lazy. Well, I'm really not, but
you just told everyone you're lazy.
Well, I'm not really lazy, but I don't know what the word is, but it's like, I'm comfortable. Let's put it that way. Because I don't have time to know all those things, but what I know is when I give somebody to you and they ask me a question, I can just say, not that I don't want to look up the answer, but I shouldn't be. That's a Jazmine question.
If you have to look up the answer, you're not the person who should be giving the answer. Yeah. I tell people that all the time.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah. My loan officer said, even if you don't know, you need to get onto the page to know. If you have to look it up, you're not an expert in that area.
Yeah.
And that's okay. We all, I will not answer real estate questions.
Stay in your lane.
Yeah. 100%. And we're all a team, and that's the thing. It's not like I don't want to do that for you. It's you're not going to get the best answer, the best service, and I can't apply that answer, and I won't be able to update your profile with this question. And so many times the question changes the whole pattern. You know what I mean? Like, oh hey, one question I get asked is, I might not live in this house a lot. I'm like, oh, we are changing occupancy. You know what I mean? That was
Mark had a topic on that. You weren't there on Thursday night, and there was a topic about investment properties. That would be another good show. You know what I want is a show, and I meant to say this to Mark too, but his show, I didn't get an opportunity to pipe in, is, loopholes. Like, everyone's always looking for the loophole, and that's like that, oh, well, if I put a bedroom in here and lock it and say I'm a roommate, well, that's a loophole. That's fraud.
So we're actually June, I think 6th, we're doing a show called In the Gray, and we're talking about all of the right ways to do a loophole. Like I have a person who just closed on a multifamily in New Bedford. They own a multifamily in Boston. They lived in that. They're buying this as an owner occupied, and everything made sense. And so yes, you can still do that. You can own multiple multifamilies and move from one to the other, and that's okay. But it's not okay to deed a property off that you own and you live in, and deed it off your name and just wait some time, and then have it under your mom's name, and then buy another multifamily owner occupied, and there's some air quotes here, guys.
Yeah.
The radio
can't coming out.
Can't see it. And then never move in. And people say, they don't check. Actually, Mark and I talked about this, and I don't want to throw it out here because he's going to send me the exact quote, but a big real estate mentor, someone who gets paid for mentorship, said they don't check. Yeah. You can just do it. They don't check. Oh, they check. I've got a client. I've actually have several clients in the last couple of years, and when previously never heard from it, never got involved, who are being investigated. Someone came and knocked on their door and they didn't live there anymore. Now, both of those situations, they had lived there and they had moved out. One of them was a veteran and moved out of state, and that's okay. They were deployed here. That's when they bought. They intended to live. They lived in it. Then their orders changed and they moved, and that's okay.
That is okay.
They kept the property, and then another person faced financial hardship and moved back in with their parents, and they're preparing to sell the house. So both of those situations were okay. But a year after, this isn't in the year mark, a year after they were being investigated. And so there's so much TikTok advice going around that from people who shouldn't even be asked the questions are giving the answer.
Well, it's funny too, because now we're on that topic, because with Mark, he is, I handed him off something that it's just been a nightmare anyways, but it was, the question asked to me was, okay, I can't get a gift based on this type of loan that I'm getting. So can I sell my truck to the person who is going to give me a gift, and so then I'll actually have that money, but then they just sort of pay that, and then I buy the truck back for them for $1. I'm like, that is called fraud. But people are thinking of loopholes, and I was like, no, you can't do that. And I was very honest, because they said it to me. I went right to Mark. I go, hey, this, just so you know, this is the question that was asked of me. And he's like, ugh. So I can't wait. June 6th, I put that down. And what day of the week is that?
It's whatever that first
Thursday?
Week of Thursday.
Thursday?
It's always Thursday, 6 p.m.
Oh, I wish it was on a Tuesday or a Saturday, because we could have aired it at the same time.
Honestly, we're talking about shifting that.
Okay, perfect. So let's get back to one of the questions that I do want to ask. Again, Talk Real Estate Roundtable. I'm Sharon McNamara, broker owner of Boston Connect Real Estate, 781-837-4900. Either we are really good into this conversation today and you have no questions, or you've completely lost interest. So give us a call, ask us a question, or you can text your question there.
Or they just like my really deep voice.
You're David Allen Boucher. So I want to shift gears, because there's this thing about cash, and I have a new listing. I have my open house there today. It's in Quincy, so I know it's going to be very busy.
What's the address, Sharon?
It's 386. Thank you, Jazmine. As if I'm keeping it a secret, 386 Quarry Street in Quincy, West Quincy area. So it's really on the corner of Common Street and Quarry. So it's right there in that area. Great location. One owner from 1959. Wonderful, wonderful house with wonderful opportunities. I'll be there today with Mr. Mark McNamara from 11 to 1. So come and visit me there. Again, 386 Quarry Street. But, I'm saying offers are due on Tuesday by 2. Of course, we tried. Someone, gave us an offer. Immediately, I knew that it was going to be like a developer or flipper or something. You can just sort of tell. And it was cash. And, the agent was like, but they can close quickly. They can do it in 3 weeks, And I want to ask you, you must hear that all all the time from people that you're helping with. Melissa, you're a very good example. I got beat out by cash. And I want to know why do sellers, why do listing agents think that cash is king and it's the only way? Because the way I look at it is, again, if all the variables and conditions are correct and you don't have to worry about appraisal issues, blah, 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 it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the bank is giving you cash.
Yes. At the end of the day, whether, the lender is wiring the money to the attorney or you're personally wiring the money to the attorney, that is a wire from the attorney or a bank check from the attorney to the seller, and it all goes into the same bucket. And what's hilarious about the cash thing is I have got a ton of clients who are pre-approved in shopping, who have serious, retirement accounts or really crazy equity in other properties, and they're making cash offers with intent to finance the properties. We just closed on a couple. We can all close in a couple. Well, I shouldn't say we all. Some people can. But I said our average close time is 16 days, and we're all closing in 3 weeks. We can all be quickly, at Maritime anyways. We're all doing it. We can look like cash real easily. We get with enough down payment. Like some of the properties get appraisal waivers, so you don't even know there's financing until the very end. So really, what you're removing from that contract, the things that are making it cash or not cash, first of all, you're supposed to be showing proof of funds, which some people will put dummy proof of funds they never intend to use. And then you're removing what's called the mortgage contingency, which is your safety net. It's the date in the contract that allows you to withdraw from the contract for your inability to get financing. So besides those two things, you're pretty much looking the same way as a finance person. And so many of my clients are putting in offers, and some of them are buying cash. We just had one with who dodged a bullet on a condo, and instead of buying 2 condos at the same time, they bought one cash, and we're going to do what's called delayed financing. It's when you don't take out a mortgage on a property and you buy it cash from your own funds, and within 6 months you withdraw that cash back out up to your original loan amount and then certain loan to value percentages based on your loan terms, your intent to occupy, etc. And take that cash out. Now that cash is going to become a down payment on a different property. And so they can buy cash, and then we can turn around and close the next day. We had one where someone bought a row of townhouses together. They bought cash, and I was like, this is going to be a little bit tricky to figure out. Let's do the whole loan. So while they were under contract cash, we did the whole loan. They bought it cash, and the next day we closed on their delayed financing. It's just a refinance. And so many of the clients go through and they've got the funds to fall back on, but they would be penalized heavily if they withdrew the funds from where they intended to. So they never intend
to, right?
buy cash.
And that's the thing, like with this one, it was, a letter from their bank institute that said, that they have this much money in there and that they could, buy in cash. But the thing that sort of my trigger was, well, if you have cash, why is it taking you 3 weeks? Because I could walk up to my bank right now and take out all of my cash and hand it to somebody, right?
Which means it's probably hard money.
Exactly. So let's talk a little, and that's exactly what I said to my clients. I go, this is probably hard money. And don't be fooled that with hard money, they want appraisals too. There are a lot of times they're asking for the appraisals. So tell everybody what hard money really is.
So it's just a guy, It's private financing. It's usually much less favorable terms, usually short term. My favorite hard money guy, he charges, 2 points on the front and the back, so very expensive, really quick to deal with, like he can close under a week. But he's charging 2% of the value. He doesn't care how much you're borrowing, of the value of the property, and then 2% of the loan when you pay it off. It needs to be paid off within a year. It's short-term, temporary, Band-Aid financing, essentially. And the interest rates can range. They're almost always over 10%. Back in the day, they used to be, 10% was kind of like the going rate. I've seen hard money loans up to 25%.
Wow.
So you might as well put it on a credit card.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And some of them are interest-only payments, so you're not repaying the loan. You're never reducing that balance. You're just having a monthly expense to hold that property. And it just doesn't go through the can you actually afford this phase.
I was just thinking that, how do you afford that?
Yeah, and it really, sometimes all the hard money people want to see is that you have money to fall back on to make the payments. Great for flippers. We've seen a lot of flippers who just use hard money to get in. They might do all their work too, and if they decide, oh, this is a really good rental, they'll refinance it and then convert it over, pay that hard money off. But it can be really unfavorable terms. I've seen a lot of people burned using hard money.
Oh, yep. I saw a lot of the hard money stuff that was going on when I had some properties in Dorchester. I saw a lot of the hard money stuff. Those were sort of coming out. Or what other things about cash do you want to talk about? Because how is it that you convince? Other than the appraisal, what are other things that we should be thinking about as listing agents when we see all of these? Or how do we, as agents, convince our sellers or other agents? I know that you're probably getting cash offers, but this is why. What are the things and the steps that you're taking to give the listing agent confidence?
Well, this is why I call every listing agent. When my clients put in an offer, I'm calling that listing agent. If it's an FHA offer and I'm going to the house and I'm going to see if this is going to pass FHA. Because if I'm confident in what I've done my job, and I am very confident that I've done my job, because we don't wait for the work. We do the work up front so you can shop with confidence. And if I feel that way, I can strongly talk about that to the listing agent. I can talk about our statistics. We track all of the, every single deal that has fallen through. We've got a reason why, and we know it's not us. It statistically is never us. And so we because we do the work up front, we'll stick with people and help them get to where they need to be. And so I'm calling the listing agent and we're having the conversation about why that offer makes sense. I'm talking to them about how they came up with that number. I'm talking about them for the comparables that I see. And this is in conjunction with the buyer's agent. I'm not replacing them. This is the information I get from the buyer's agent. I'm like, okay, so this is where we're seeing, where did you come up with that? Because I just want to make sure when it's an appraisal that we're not going to be facing an issue. And so I'm talking them through each of these aspects of the loan, and it's that extra step of due diligence I find that like builds up the confidence. And this is why you can't use, you can do what you want, but you can't use spaceship mortgage, like you know what I mean. You can't use promise loan. You can't use these places that you're just a number where they're out of state and nowhere else. This is why we only lend in the areas that we live. So Maine, backyard. New Hampshire, backyard, Massachusetts, where the majority of us live, Rhode Island, where some of us live, and Florida, where some of us live. These are our places where we know, we're familiar with, we can get to within 5 hours, except some parts of Maine. Some parts of Maine are going to take a dozen hours or so.
A day.
Yeah, 4-hour flight to Florida. But these are the places we know. We trusting someone from, California to help you with this Massachusetts property, and then we're talking about Title V, and they're going, what's that?
Yeah. Or they don't even understand that we're not a title state, that we're an attorney state. I mean, that has happened, but people at the very end have said, what do you mean I need an attorney? Like, what do you mean you didn't know that,
Yeah.
I was thinking about when you were talking about FHA, and we only have 5 minutes left, which I can't believe. But and again, maybe this is another show for another day. But like FHA, VA, and I know that you're going to be joining our office on Monday, and I have asked somebody to come into our office that's going to be giving us a little training. She's going to be teaching. We're going to be talking more about buyer agency and buyer agency agreements and some of the differences that have happened. And our listeners, I'm sure, have heard about the different lawsuits that have gone on, and maybe they haven't, as just the consumers, where we're talking about it in depth.
Sure.
And the opportunity for the sellers not having to sort of dissect the commission that they're given to the listing agent off to the buyer's agent, and how does that look? Now you have a bunch of buyer's agents out there that are not being compensated through MLS in the traditional ways. I'm really, really worried. I've been saying this since day one. Some people have disagreed with me since day one, but I still see that there's a strong case for me to say I don't understand how people who don't have money are going to be able to have representation.
Oh, this is definitely going to be another show, because I got to say, I'm already having a hard time with people not understanding the VA loan. It's always been a thing, and it is the best loan program by far, in my opinion, and it is only awarded to those who have earned it. And to by face just deny loans because they're VA and you don't understand them is just
not a good reason.
It's wrong. It's wrong. And so
wrong.
we could go real deep into that.
Yeah, so that's another show for sure.
So Jazz will be back for the 4th time.
The Forever series.
The Forever series with Jazmine.
Yeah, but I mean, these are the things that I think it's really good, and for our listeners to know is these are the things that we are on top of all the time. Sometimes people will say, oh, you don't need an agent, you just put the sign in the yard and that's all you have to worry about. And I assure you, there are so many things that we're always learning in the background, and we're always on top of, and we're considering and contemplating when we are listing your home. I mean, that's just the financial aspect of it. It's just one piece. The marketing is another piece, advertising, promoting, there's just so many pieces to
Can
this
I just say
puzzle.
one thing to that?
Yeah.
I don't know who thinks that attorneys and loan officers are going to replace real estate agents, but we are already struggling. Like I have a whole list of for sale by owner nightmares, where we don't close on time because the seller didn't know X, Y, Z. There's so much that goes into it, and even your financing can get more difficult if it's not done correctly.
Yes.
A lot of people think, well, if there's not a buyer's, I can just do it myself. You're going to have to get some advice from some different people, and there's some things that I can't answer. There are questions. You started asking about some listing agent things. I'm like, we're starting to get out of my lane.
Yeah. So, and statistically too, I mean, for sale by owners, people think it is so easy, and it's interesting because I go by a property, and you probably go by it on your way to work when you're going to Christina's. I go by it, and I would see for sale by owner sign. Well, I went by the other day, and there was a real estate sign there. Yeah. So and statistically, we end up getting, they end up with more because of our negotiation skills than even with a compensation than they would have on their own. So that's another topic for another day too.
Yep.
So we have
that's a 6th show.
Yeah, a 6th show. Yeah. So 2 minutes left here. So first, I want Jazmine, give everybody your information so when the music starts, we can hear you clearly.
Sure. I'm Jazmine Glasgow, Maritime Mortgage Corp. We are in the South Shore of Massachusetts. You can find us on the web at maritimemortgage.com or maritimeloan.com. mortgage.com because some people can't spell mortgage. And if you want to call or text me, my cell is 774-240-4667. Again, my cell is 774-240-4667. We don't use AI bots, so that will actually be me.
Yes.
And I will be checking my phone soon.
Yes, absolutely. And again, we can't, recommend, Jazmine more. I mean, I've used her personally. Melissa's used her personally. She has helped both my children with, pre-approvals, or in the process with one right now. So we trust her wholeheartedly with, ourselves and our family. So that's why we refer her and her team to you. So,
thank you. And this goes both ways. Like, your office is my number one referral listing.
Yeah.
Like, I because I know all your agents do such a good job, and they all have such different, the Flynns are fantastic in the Bridgewater area. Sam Horton's great with rent, investments. So
we got it all. I got a guy for that, or a girl.
We got a woman.
Yeah, we got a woman. So I just want to remind you, I have an open house today at 386 Quarry Street in Quincy. I will be there with Mr. Mark McNamara from 11 to 1. So come by and see me. It is a beautiful 3-bedroom home. It is on the market for $585. The Grady team will be at 719 Ferry Street in Marshfield. They'll be there today and tomorrow from 11 to 12:30. Of course, Mary and I still have Cushing Trails in Hanson from 10 to 12. Mary Baker will be there today. We have 3 different types of properties, and she will be at Cochise. Kristen Howlett, full-time realtor here at Boston Connect Real Estate, will be in West Bridgewater.
And Jenny Wendell wanted me to let everybody know that the Red Cross Community Blood Drive is at the First Church in Pembroke today from 9 to 2, and there are still spots available.
All right, well, that's perfect. So if anyone wants to give blood, that's where you go. Tim, thank you so much for your time, your energy, and your support of our radio show, Talk Real Estate Roundtable. We will see you next week. We'll be live Tuesday, 6:15 to 7. Bye, everybody.